Hey guys, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So it is time for my March currently inked. But before I go ahead into my March currently inked, I do want to take you through my progress report for February. So if you guys don't remember which pens I have inked up for February, I will leave that in the corner here and you can go ahead and check that out. But first, let's go through the February scores. So the first pen from my February currently inked is my Pelikan M605, and here I am grading the flow as a 7, the comfort level a 10, and the ink a 9. So the flow I said was a 7 because there were some hard starts with this pen. Comfort level, the M600, M605 series of the Pelikan is actually the best size for me, I think. I haven't tried an M800 yet, but maybe one day. But I do love this nib, but you can see there is some shimmer stuck in the feed here, and that did result in some hard starts. It worked about 75% of the time, which is why I said the flow was about a 7, but the ink itself is absolutely beautiful. You can see it here in a writing sample on Rhodia paper. I used this pen in my Hobonichi 5-year journal, and I actually really liked it for the days that it worked, which was about 75% of the time. The second pen is the Pilot Vanishing Point in the Gunmetal Gray, and I rated the flow a 10 and a comfort level 9 and ink 9. So the ink was the Pilot Iroshizuku Murasaki Shikibu, and just the two together, beautiful pairing. The flow was just the way I like it, and this pen, I mean, I love the Vanishing Point. It's such a great pen. It fits really well in my hand. That clip doesn't bother me at all, and it's a really good, smooth writer. I love the Pilot 18 karat nib, but the writing in this is just the fine nib with that Murasaki Shikibu is absolutely stunning. I really, really like it. And this is this type of purple that I do like. So the third pen, I made a little mistake here. I start writing it for the Platinum 3776 instead of the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Dragon Palace. And you're gonna see in just a second here where I lift up my pen and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I writing this review for the wrong pen? It's because I had it in the wrong order in my Galen Leather Writer's Bank Bag. So I'm gonna realize it here. I'm just gonna be like, I'm just going to keep writing in the Sailor Pro Gear Slim because it was going to be a similar review. This has the 14 karat nib and it has Sailor Ink Studio 237. And actually the pairing of these two is really great. It's got a wonderful fine line and it's got a good flow, not too wet. And the ink itself in a medium fine nib, you see some shading, but not tons and tons of it. But the pairing overall is good. I gave the ink a 9, the flow an 8, and the comfort level a 9 because this is a little bit too small for me. The next pen is the Benu Euphoria in Ocean Breeze, and this is paired with Ferris Wheel Press Storied Blue. I gave the flow a 10 because the nibs, the Schmidt nibs in these Benus are fantastic, wet, smooth writers. It's such a big pen, and look at that nib there. Gorgeous nib that is such a wet writer, and with Ferris Wheel Press worked really, really well. And if you actually look in this writing sample here, it's a fantastic fine nib. It leans a little bit medium to the fine nib, but this pen itself is a little bit big for me, so I am thinking of selling it. And this pen here is my On a Whim Woodworks Cool Tone Primary Manipulation. The flow is a 10, comfort level is a 10, and the ink is a 9. So this is just a gorgeous pen. It actually has, or it came with, a medium Bach nib, which I had ground into a cursive italic or a stub, and I absolutely love it. It is such a wet writer. Such a wet writer, and this is paired with Pilot Iroshizuku Ajisai, and you can see the great line variation there. Probably my favorite pen in this pairing. This next pen here is a Pens by KC Primary Manipulation, and I marked it as a 9 for flow, 9 for comfort level, and 9 for ink. But look at this pen. It is absolutely beautiful. It came with a medium Yovo nib that I had ground down to an Architect nib by Jack Hernandez, who thankfully lives in my same province, and he did a fantastic job. The pairing of this nib with this ink, the ink went down a little bit light at first, but then it dried to this beautiful mustard shady yellow. Absolutely love it. And then the last pen is my Platinum 3776. The flow is an 8, comfort level a 9, and the ink was an 8. But look at how beautifully classic this pen looks. This is the Platinum 3776 in Laurel Green, and that beautiful fine nib. This is the finest nib that I have, and it's such a crisp, thin line. And when you look at the writing sample using Pilot Iroshizuku Takesumi, you can see how fine this line is. And I think it made me fall in love with extra fine nibs again. Who knew? So now for my February report, and this is where I keep track of what I've purchased, what I've acquired, what I've used, what I have let go of or sold. And for me, this really helps me when it comes to making future purchases. So when it comes to pens, I only made one purchase this month. Yes, I kept it to one. My goal this year was to only purchase one pen a month, and the pen that I actually purchased is not going to be here until April. So that one is going to be one that I have to be very patiently waiting for. There were 0 pens gifted to me this month, and there were 2 pens that I received. So these were 2 pens that I ordered in January, at the end of January, so they didn't actually come until maybe the first or second week of February, and that was the Nahvalur Nautilus primary manipulation and the Little Pen Designs and Pastel primary manipulation. I broke my rule there of that one pen purchased in January. And then 1 pen sold, which was my Ranga Zayante Z2. You guys know how I feel about selling pens. If it's no longer bringing me joy, or if it's not one that I reach for, I will sell it. So next to the inks, and I didn't have as much of a set goal with inks as I did with pens. I did make it a rule that I didn't want to buy any more bottles and I did want to use up my ink samples as much as possible. So I had used 8 ink samples this month, and a lot of that was due to painting, but also there are a lot of ink samples that I have that aren't enough for a fill. So I encouraged myself to use them with painting. So I had used Ferris Wheel Press Storied Blue, Sailor Urameku Kang Yu, Sailor Urameku Itezora, Sailor Urameku Amamoyoi, and I really don't know why I decided I needed all of those Urameku inks when they first came out last year. Then I used the sample of Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose and Gold. This was one that Sandy gave me back in September, and it was just so fun to use, and I let myself use the whole sample because I now have a full bottle. Diamine Leap of Faith, Diamine Arctic Blue, and lastly Pilot Iroshizuku Syo Ro, which is a sample I've had for over a year actually. And then there was 1 ink bottle purchased. It was Diamine Tyrian Purple, and it was in the 30 ml bottle rather than the big 80 ml bottle. But I love the shade of purple so much, and it was so inexpensive from Cult Pen, so I couldn't pass that up. Then I had 2 ink bottles gifted to me. The first was the Narwhal Explorer Atlantic Blue. This came with my Narwhal Nautilus primary manipulation from Pen Chalet. And then another one gifted to me was the Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose in Gold from Chloe. I'm so thankful for that one. And there were 0 ink samples purchased. Yes. Woohoo! I'm actually trying hard not to purchase any ink samples because I can easily buy like 8 to 15 in one go, so I'm trying not to do that. And there were 4 ink samples gifted to me. So Monteverde Midnight Black from Pen Chalet, Ferris Wheel Press Madame Mulberry, Ferris Wheel Press Moss Green Park, Moss Park Green, I can't remember which way it is, and Ferris Wheel Press Dusk in Bloom. Those last three are from Chloe, who also gave me the Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose in Gold. So the totals for this month, what I am ending the month with is 62 ink samples, which actually is very good because I ended January with 66 ink samples, and I now have 39 ink bottles, and I have a total of 25 fountain pens with one custom on the way to me for April of 2023. Not bad for February. Next, we have my currently inked for the month of March, and I like setting up my page with these stamps that I got from Stationery Pal, but I'm doing something a little bit different with my currently inked this month. I'm actually taking inspiration from Leanne Likes. What she did for her currently inked for the month of March is actually her fountain pen superlatives. So what she actually did was take the category of what her first fountain pen was, what her most recent fountain pen was. So I will be taking a cue from Leanne Likes today and choosing my fountain pens accordingly. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys what I've inked up for the month of March. The first pen in my currently inked is the first fountain pen that I have ever received in my collection, and it is my Cross Botanica Green Daylily, and I smudged here, oops. And this pen was actually gifted to me by my dad back in 2015, and when he first gifted this to me, I had no idea about fountain pens, but it's got such a beautiful body and it's such a smooth writer. And when I started getting back into fountain pens again, I needed to find this pen and I needed to make sure that I could change the ink, so I bought a converter for it and everything, and now it's one of my favorites. It's such a smooth writer for having a fine nib in here, but it's just such a beautiful, beautiful pen, and one that I will never get rid of. So this is currently inked with Ferris Wheel Press Madame Mulberry, and this ink was gifted to me by Chloe, somebody local to me, and I love how gray purple this color is. It's such complex gray purple. It's like a mauve, lilac, no, more a mauvey gray, and it really is a beautiful ink. And I decided to pair it with this pen because this pen is actually known for writing a little bit wetter, and Ferris Wheel Press inks can be a little dry, and so far I am really liking this pairing. The second pen in my currently inked is my most recent pen, my most recent purchase or acquisition, and it is this beautiful pen from Little Pen Designs, and I actually got this secondhand from Reddit, and I thank Katie for finding this one for me actually, and it is currently inked with Colorverse Brunch Date. But I just want to show you the beautiful colors in this pen body. It is a pastel primary manipulation by Jonathan Brooks of Carolina Pen Company, and it currently has an extra fine nib. I am in love with the colors of this pen, the way that this pen feels in my hand, but also I'm all about the extra fine nibs right now. This is a Yovo Steel number 6 extra fine nib, and it actually writes very, very smoothly. But the two combined, I am really into the hand turn pens right now. If you haven't been watching my channel, I'll let you in on that. But the ink in here, Colorverse Brunch Date, I am loving the dusty pinks, and this is more like a darker coral dusty pink, but I love this shade. Very similar to Teranishi Opera Rose as well as Rue d'Ancre from Herbon, but again this one is a little bit darker. I wasn't sure how the flow would be of this ink, but so far in the extra fine nib, it's actually writing really well. And this is the pen and ink combination I'm using in my Hobonichi A6 5-year journal for this month. The next pen in my lineup is my oldest pen. And when I say oldest, I mean the one that was manufactured the earliest in time, and it is my Pelican 140. This is the only vintage pen that I own, and I believe this one originated in the 1950s. I don't know all of the details. I really should know all the details, but I really don't want to fall down the rabbit hole of vintage pens, so I'm going to keep it to this one. So this is a Pelican 140, and it is a beautiful pen, and I actually got it for a really great price, and it has an extra fine nib, and it is a 14K karat gold extra fine nib, and I have this inked with Ferris Wheel Press Moss Green Park, again gifted to me by Chloe, and this is such a perfect match, I think, for this ink. But look at the flex in that nib, and it's going to bring out the beautiful colors of this green ink from Ferris Wheel Press. I love this pen. It is a smaller pen, but it's got such a great nib. It looks so classic and beautiful, and it's one of those really, really wet writers, perfect for some of the drier Ferris Wheel Press inks. So that is my oldest fountain pen. My newest, or I guess youngest fountain pen, I categorize this as the pen that was most recently released, and this was the Narwhal, or the Nahvalur Nautilus, in the primary manipulation. So it was a collaboration between Narwhal and Pen Chalet and Jonathan Brooks of Carolina Pen Company, and it was just such a great release. So this was released back in February, and they were sold out pretty quickly, and they had offered this pen in actually different trims, so gold, silver, rose gold, and black, and the different combinations of the body are just absolutely amazing. And I originally got this in a medium nib because that's all that was left, and I had this ground down to an extra fine by Jack Hernandez, and I love the way this writes. I had him do this as well, a little bit wetter than normal, so it is the perfect combination of extra fine point. And the ink that I used in this one is actually one that was also sent to me by Pen Chalet. It is the Narwhal Explorer Atlantic Blue, and it's this really pretty teal turquoise ink that I think fits perfectly well with this pen. So this is my newest pen, the Narwhal Nautilus in the primary manipulation. So pretty. This is a piston fill pen if you aren't aware, but oh, just look at how pretty it is. The next pen on my currently inked is my least expensive pen, or my cheapest pen. I hate saying cheap, but it is the least expensive pen, and it is my Pilot Kakuno. I absolutely love this pen. It is in the clear body, and I did a little MacGyvering to it, which I will show you shortly here, but it is currently inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyugaki. I absolutely love this pen, and for the price point, you do get a lot. Now, you can buy this off of Amazon or actually a lot of different retailers, and it is very well priced for a beginner pen. But it is also one of my favorite pens, even for being as inexpensive as it is. And what I've done is I've actually changed out the nib in this, but I've also added a Con 70 converter to get more of the ink capacity. So again, it is inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Fuyugaki. This is not an ink that I normally would go for, but it's a very nice spring color, and just look at how bright this ink is. And it already writes so smoothly in the fine nib that is currently in this Pilot Kakuno. If anybody is looking for a beginner fountain pen, you guys know how much I love this one. It's a great price point. It does only come with a cartridge, but you can always buy a Con 70 converter or a Con 40. I prefer the Con 70 over the Con 40, but really a great pen and my most inexpensive. Now, this category was difficult. These two are very evenly priced, actually, but I decided to go with the Leonardo Memento Zero Grande 2.0 in the angel skin, and this is the most expensive pen that I currently own. I don't even want to say how much it is, but just look at how beautiful that resin is. just amazing. And the nib on this is a 14 karat rose gold fine nib. I purchased this off of Pen Chalet on Black Friday, and the MSRP, or the retail price on this, oh, I don't even want to say, it's $440 US. It is my most expensive pen. But saying that, I didn't pay full price for this. I got it at the Black Friday sale, plus I had a whole bunch of Pen Chalet credits, so I ended up only paying $100 US for this plus shipping. So very good deal. But it is currently inked, that beautiful nib, look at that. It is currently inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo, and I think even though the color isn't a perfect match for the pen, it flows beautifully out of this 14 karat rose gold nib. And I just want you to take a look at the shading in this ink. This initially didn't wow me in terms of its shading, but I want to give this ink another chance because there's so many people that love Yamabudo. So I'm going to give it another chance. And I think the combination of this nib with the piston fill, so it's got a lot of ink capacity, I think the two combined will make a really, really great combination. So once again, this is my most expensive pen. Eek. The next category is my smallest pen, and I actually compared the size of the Sailor Pro Gear Slim with the Pilot Prera, and the Pilot Prera is a little bit smaller just by a tiny, tiny bit. So once again, this is the category for my smallest pen. But saying that, the Pilot Prera actually packs a lot for the size of pen that it is. It's really, really classic looking. I love the look of that ivory pen. But what I love about these Pilot pens is that the nibs are actually interchangeable with the Pilot Metropolitan, Pilot Kakuno, the Pilot Plumix. All of the nibs are interchangeable. So I'm going to show you quickly. The nib that I have on here is actually a calligraphy medium nib, and I absolutely love it. It writes so smoothly and it's got great flow. Just look at that nib. So fun. And the ink that I currently have in here is Sailor Shikiori 150th Anniversary. And I filled the cartridge instead of using a Con 40 converter because, I mean, man, those are just not fun at all. So I really love this Sailor Shikiori ink, but just look at the shading on this. It reminds me a little bit of Pilot Iroshizuku Inaho, and just this kind of brown rice color is absolutely beautiful. So this is my smallest pen. And now I'm sizing up the biggest pens that I own. I was comparing my Benu Euphoria to my Pens by Casey and then my Leonardo Memento Zero Grande. And it actually looks like the Leonardo Memento Zero Grande is just eking it out a bit. It is a little bit wider in the body, but about the same length. So this is my largest pen. So there are all of my pens and inks for the month of March. I'm actually really excited for this month. I'm always excited to ink up new pens, but I really liked formatting it in this fountain pen Superlatives, just like Leanne Likes did. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked the format of this video where you got a brief insight into my February progress report, as well as how everything was in terms of my acquisitions or selling off or using, things like that, as well as my overall currently inked. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I love to hear what you guys are inking up this month. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching and have yourselves a great day.